Adequate notice of this meeting, you ready?
Yes.
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the Westfield Leader, advertised on January 9th, 2014. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger and prominently posted in the Municipal Public Bulletin Board and filed in the office of the municipal clerk, informing the public of the time and place according to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. At this time, I would like to ask everyone to please silence your cell phones and other communication devices. If you must take a phone call, do so out in the hall, and it is preferred that no texting being done during the meeting, so you also take that outside. Thank you. Have a couple announcements to make this evening. The first one, it gives me great pleasure to announce tonight that we have been informed by Flanagan's that the complex will be completed by the end of November. I have more delightful information in announcing that I, along with members of council, will host the ribbon cutting ceremony on Sunday, December 14, 2014. The time will be announced, and I encourage all residents to attend this important event in our borough's history.
Excellent.
You like that?
Yes. Perfect.
The administrative clerk has several more changes to make to the draft Chapter 126, Parks, Facilities, Playgrounds, and Recreation. The draft will be in the November 7th mail packets. There will be a special meeting on Thursday, November 13, 2014 at 7 p.m. in the council chamber to discuss the draft. Introduction will take place on November 18th with adoption on December 9th, 2014. What we're referring to here are the rules, regulations, etc., that will govern the use of the facility, the fees, etc. So all of those things will be in that, are contained in that document. So, without further ado, Mr. Warriell,
Thank you, Mayor.
you're up first.
Tough act to follow.
Pardon?
So that's a tough act to follow.
Yes, it is.
Don't wait
Um,
until you-
I have a couple of things to report. First of all, I attended the DEP meeting last week in Trenton relative to the Garwood Brook and its downstream tributaries. It was attended by the director of the DEP as well as 3 members from their various committees, with 2 members from the Cranford Municipal Council and 3 people from the new engineering firm hired by Cranford. They reviewed what the status of the old project was. Apparently a portion had been approved. That's the wetlands portion. The stream encroachment permit had never been approved. Whether it had ever been prepared to submit, I doubt, because they still had some easement problems to obtain, and they never did get to those. But basically, the DEP position on that project is that they have to start from scratch. They have to resubmit. The problem with that is that obviously there's new regulations that are in effect since that project was originally prepared, which I think is some 10 to 15 years ago. The council is not going with the old engineer, which would make more sense to me, but I'm not the council. Since they had already done the project, I think the new engineer will probably start from scratch, which will, I think, 1, delay the process, and 2, generate some additional fees, but nonetheless, they are going to move ahead, I believe, with the project. That seems to be pretty well defined by the council. So, but I think you're probably looking at, we're looking at probably a year to 2 years before this project would be approved. I think you're probably looking at probably 6 months before they get resubmitted, and there are many conditions that are not going to be allowed, so they're going to have to appeal for those to get those to be allowed. For example, the gabions, which you remember we ran into on one of our projects, they're looking at gabions for the entire length of the stream, which is between a quarter and half a mile. They're only allowed 150 feet, so they're gonna have to show hardship for that, so there's gonna be that process. There is mitigation now, which is more stringent than there was in the past. Mitigation means that if you disturb the wetlands, you have to give them back 2 to 1 someplace else, or you have to contribute to it. It would seem to me that there's no other way they can do it but contribute to it, because I don't think there's any place they can provide additional wetlands in that stream corridor. So, in any case, that there is some good vibes in that they at least appear that they're going to proceed with the project and reapply. Oak Street project, we basically have paved, and the project is, for all intent and purpose, complete. There's a punch list that's being generated, and hopefully by the council's meeting next month, we will have that project done.
Now, with regarding Cranford with the brook, I know there were some holdouts along the way that they had encountered when they've been working on this for all these like 15 years. Do they expect to have any of that continue, or, you know, will there be?
I think they're feeling, after Irene, that those people would be more amicable now. It's strange because the same people that flood are the people that are holding back on easements.
That's what I was wondering, yeah.
Which I can't understand, but it's having obviously a negative impact on their property. I guess they're weighing the fact that the stream has a negative impact on their property, or the easement has a negative impact on the property. The bottom line is it's there, they can't move it. Whether there's a stream encroachment by deed or a stream encroachment by necessity, because it's there, there still is an encroachment on their property, which I don't know why writing the leaps and bounds around it has anything to do with it. So I think those people that they think will be more amicable at this point in time.
Now, the gabion walls, that's expected to be more intermittent than like we have at the full.
No, they're very similar to we are in that the stream, although
I know
their
they
stream does
want.
not run along with a defined corridor like ours does. We have a 25-foot easement that runs all length of the town in a straight line. They have a meandering brook, or at least a brook that is not well defined, but it runs through backyards, and they're gonna have to do the same thing. Their gabions will be, where ours get as big as wide as, I think, 16 or 18 feet down by the path mark, they'll be 24 feet wide. But other than that, they're, might be a little shallower too, we don't know. My concern is that whatever they approve, that they make deep enough for the improvements that we
Right.
have done in Garwood. County did all the bridges in Garwood based on what they used to call an approved stream profile. Later on in the years, the DEP started to approve profile grade, which, if they did that now, we'd end up with 2 feet of silt in every structure we have between North Avenue and East Street. Well, it would start out at 2 feet and go to nothing by the time you got to East Street. Hopefully, they'll put the brook down at the grade that would accommodate all the improvements that have been made throughout Garwood, and then anything we do at least will be able to get some benefit out of it. We should get some benefit out of their improvements regardless, because even if we just dig the brook 2 feet deeper, we'll get some benefit from it.
Right.
Mayor, Don, thank you so much for going down to Trenton to that meeting. I know it's a little bit of a hike, but it's good that we're staying on top of this brook situation and seeing, and finally getting some answers to it. Obviously, it's very unfortunate that they have to start from scratch, but at least they are looking to go ahead with that and resubmit. You mentioned that Cranford would have to contribute to wetlands. What does that mean?
Well, some of the areas along the brook are considered wetlands.
Right.
In fact, some of the brook is considered a wetland. For every foot of wetland you disturb, there's 2 ways they treat wetlands. Small isolated sections of wetlands, they'll let you fill. But there are sections which they won't let you fill. These are right down in the stream corridor. They're not gonna let them fill it.
Right.
They're gonna make them put back wetlands in someplace else within the brook corridor, or you can pay money as,
Okay,
it
that's
works
what I
that way.
thought contribute
You
meant,
can
pay money.
contribute money to a mitigation fund and get and buy your way out, basically.
Okay, and
I
that's pretty
think
much
that's
what
probably
Cranford.
gonna happen.
And then also just one other note about your second item about Oak Street.
Yes.
I know that some residents that live over there were a little unhappy with all the construction material and equipment and items like that. So if you could just pay a little extra attention to make sure that when the contractor's done, you know, that area is restored as best.
All his materials have been removed from the site. There is some work, some materials left on spruce down the end by the park, but that's not ours, that belongs to the recreational contractor.
Okay, fine. All right, thank you, Don.
Anybody else have anything for Mr. Moriello this evening? Yes?
Don, what does this project do, if anything, to the issue we have regarding the pipes under the railroad and North Avenue?
Nothing.
Nothing, that's
They
right.
stopped the town line. But I know way back when, I think maybe Mayor McCarthy was mayor, the first Mayor McCarthy, we had applied to the DEP to get, not the DEP, DOT, to have the bridge under North Avenue replaced. But at that time, they told us they wouldn't even consider it until such time as the downstream improvements were made. So hopefully, we can go to the DOT after the stream improvements are made, and get the DOT to replace that bridge. The real nut is gonna be getting underneath the railroad, because there's almost no room to put it. We have room on the west side, on the south side of the river, of the railroad, and we have room on the east side, on the north side of the railroad.
Can you say that again, so I can run it through my head? You're saying
We have room.
on the south side
On the
of
south
road-
side, we have room. We have the path mark there, so
Right.
you could literally exempt some of that and get room to put a stream there. When you get on the other side of the railroad, there's a building there,
Right.
so you really can't do that. And on the west side of the, I'm sorry, on the east side of the brook, on the south side, you have the bodyguard or whatever it is. And when you get to the north side, it's open, so either side is not open for additional pipe.
All right, so in the course of events here, hopefully Cranford will go through, get their approval, make the changes. At that point in time, we're gonna approach DOT?
Yeah, I would say
And
absolutely,
do we
yes.
approach DOT also at that time about?
Well, DOT now owns the railroad, so
Right.
we could
So
approach that
both
for
at
both.
the same time, so this is still a long time coming.
Yes.
Okay.
But, doesn't mean we can't dig the brook down. Once they get down, there's about 2 feet of silt in the brook by the time you get
Sure.
to North End.
Yeah.
If we just lowered the brook by 2 feet, we'd get some benefit out of it.
All right, well, is that something we have to think about for capital projects?
Absolutely.
All
But
right.
again, that's 3 or 4 years away before we get it.
Okay. So, we can just make note, because we're trying to get a 6-year program. So 3 or 4 years away, we have to put money in the budget in order
Yeah.
to
The only other encroachment, or other encroachment on the brook, or if you want to call it encroachment, would be the bridge under the east bridge crossing into Pathmark. The old bridge crossing into Pathmark, right there by Bodyguard. The one that's at the entranceway of Pathmark, we reconstructed the proper grade
Right.
and the size when we built it 30 years ago, I guess. But the one under the old bridge is
Easternmost bridge.
still going to be an impediment.
So that would have to be raised?
That would have to be, well, probably lowered, not raised, and lowered and widened. The bottom is where we get the benefit.
Okay, so when I say, okay, you meant the bottom of the bridge
The
itself?
size of the culvert probably is, it sits too high in the stream.
Okay, thank you.
One other question. Is there a sense that this is as important to Cranford as it is to us?
That's a good question. Well, I think there's a sense it's important to us, as to Cranford as it is to us. The question is it as important to Cranford as the main river? Or does it take, a second seat, a back seat to that? That's the key issue. But if they can get the Corps to address the main issue, which is the main river, then there's no reason why they can't really look into this and keep this thing moving.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay. Moving along, Mr. Renan. good
Thank
evening.
you, Mayor. Good evening. I don't think I have anything I need to bring to the council's attention tonight.
Does anybody have anything for Mr. Renan? Okay. Ms. Mariano, do you have anything to?
Yes, actually, I did put no report on there, but Councilman Hairston reminded me of, I want to confirm that the next round of CDGB submissions, which will take place at the next meeting, we put in for 3 regularly, the senior citizen program, senior citizen handyman, and the senior citizen transportation program. But Councilman Niersted, last year I put in for, redevelopment study and plans. They denied it, but Councilman Niersted requested I put it in again. I just want to confirm that I will be preparing that grant application. We have a public hearing on community development grant application, November 18th meeting, because the public gets to comment on that. You need to have that. So that'll be at the next meeting. And then your grant said that your submitting will be on that agenda.
Okay.
I don't see why we don't try.
Right, exactly.
At least, you know.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we have any other unfinished business this evening?
Come here.
No, any new business? No? Not for the moment, okay. Comments or matters for discussion from the members of council. Council President Tarantino, do you have anything to share this evening?
Of course I do, Mayor. You make an announcement like that, and then we move right into Dr. Riello. We need a moment to absorb that. The athletic field project, December 14th, ribbon cutting. Absolutely incredible news. Long time coming.
Yeah.
So we can finally start moving forward, looking forward. We can't look forward if we keep looking backwards at, everything that, all the negativity, the delays, finally over.
Happy
Good news.
holiday.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, very good. Great news.
Yeah.
I'd like to obviously thank Lou Petrozelli, Councilman Petrozelli, who's instrumental. And, week after week, meeting after meeting, you give all the reports and you get all the negativity or criticism or, complaints from the public. And I think it's time to give you thank you for going down to the field day after day and attending the meetings week after week. And thank you for that, because if you're going to get the criticism, you should get the kudos when they're due. So thank you very much. What else? I have a few things. Let me see. Okay, so in front of you, you see 2 checks there, 2 big cardboard checks. I went to the freeholders meeting on October 16th. And I was presented with these 2 checks, large checks literally. And Ms. Ariema, who applied for the grants from the Open Space Trust Fund, we were awarded a $20,000 grant. That was from the Open Space Trust Fund. The other one was $4,400 from the Greening Union County. The $4,400 is to be used for trees around the borough. You know what? I'm gonna go back to something, never mind. It's for the trees about, the $4,400 is to be used for the trees around the borough or the rec complex. These are both matching grants. Where the matching money is coming from is yet to be determined. And the reason I say this is because normally what we would do is budget the $20,000 and the $4,400 in the 2015 operating budget. But there's a possibility that when the project wraps up, there are funds that have not been settled and there's money left in the project. And we could be allocating the $20,000 and the $4,400 to the project. So the same goes, by the way, for the $20,000 that we budgeted in the 2014 budget for the cameras. When the project is completed, if there's money in the project, in that bond, we can repay the 2014 budget, that matching grant for the $20,000. So what that means is that all this matching money, none of it, if there's still money left in the project, none of it has to come from operating cost. Even though we may have to budget for it, it can be paid back.
That's good.
Does that make sense, the way I explained it?
Everybody get it?
I understand.
I don't actually. Well, when you say the project, it was kind of, I didn't understand.
The money that's in the project right now,
The project, meaning.
Athletic field.
the athletic field
Right.
project. So once we settle up, if there's still money left in there,
When you say left in there, what is it? I don't understand those terms.
the bonding.
Left in there, meaning if there's not,
Meaning we
there's
don't exceed our
unspent.
bond ordinance,
Right.
right, Tina?
Because as much as you like to say, we're not over budget. So
Mhm.
there's still money left in the project. And if they're, at the end, when we're all settled up, if there's still money in that bond ordinance, we can allocate the matching funds to that bond. Am I explaining that correctly, Tina?
For what purpose?
For the matching grants. These
But I mean,
checks are matching.
but
We
then
have
there-
to match them.
but there would be
Instead of
money-
matching them out of the operating budget, we would match them out of the bond.
So essentially, we'd have $8,800 for trees.
Yes.
So you would be using money that was originally bonded for the athletic field for another purpose?
No,
No.
because
No.
this
No.
grant,
No.
these grants
These
were
grants.
for the athletic field.
Grants are for the athletic.
The $20,000.
Completely lost. I don't understand.
When we
why.
applied for these grants,
Okay.
we applied for them for the athletic field. They were for, tables and chairs, not the cameras, the TVs, the defibrillator. There was a list of things that we applied for the grant for the athletic field. The trees would also be for the athletic field. So if we match the money from the athletic field bond, it's still athletic field money. And it would have come out of our operating budget. And if the money's still there, the $20,000 for the camera that we put in the 2014 operating budget, we can repay the 2014 operating budget.
Good news.
That's real good.
It's actually good news and not going over budget. So, okay, so there's that. One other thing I'd like to say, Mayor, on the ordinance that you mentioned that we would have a special meeting on. If there's one thing, I know the ordinance is not ready, we're gonna have a special meeting, but I would like to say one thing, just because we do have a ribbon cutting. Going forward, one of the things I could probably announce on that ordinance is that we've been calling it the athletic field project all this time. The ordinance is renaming the field. It is going to be called the Garwood Sports and Recreation Complex. So I think from going forward, we should be calling it by its new name. Garwood Sports and Recreation Complex. So we can announce that today, even though we don't have the ordinance.
Will it be illegal to say athletic field complex after we pass that ordinance?
You can call it whatever you like, but the proper name would be the Garwood Sports and Recreation Complex.
Okay, just keep me, Mr. Renaud, make sure I don't run afoul of the law.
Okay, Councilman, you can call it whatever you like.
Thank
Call it whatever you like.
Yeah, we like to calling.
One more thing, Mayor. The parking committee will be meeting on Thursday, and we are still working on solving the parking issue around town. We did reach out to some local large parking lot owners around the borough to try to make an agreement with them to share their space. Some of them have turned down our offer, but we have received some positive feedback from others, and we're still in preliminary talks with these large parking lot owners. There's not a lot I can share just yet, but we are looking into other ways to resolve the parking situation. And the committee's not ready to make a recommendation to council just yet, but we're meeting on Thursday, and soon we'll be coming to council with something. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Councilman Martin is not here this evening, he's away on business. Councilman Matthew,
Nothing for me, Mary, thank you.
Councilman Paul.
Uh-oh.
Who got this? I'm going down the, oh, I'm sorry. Must be the guy who has the Councilman Neerstadt.
Thank you, Mayor.
I would never live you out.
4 items, I'll try to go through quick. This past Saturday was Clean Communities Day. Borough Clerk Oriana runs the program and does a wonderful event. Volunteers, including Councilman Petrozelli and Councilwomen Tedisco and Tarantino, cleaned up around Washington Lincoln Schools, Borough Hall and the Firehouse, the First Aid Squad, and Hartman Park, and the area surrounding the athletic field improvements. Almost an equal number of bags, 10 each, of garbage and recyclables were picked up. We thank all the Boy and Girl Scouts and everyone else who assisted. We thank the DPW for picking up the bags. It's amazing how much stuff was out there, particularly out at the athletic field by Rankin. Was just one of the scout leaders came back to me and he said, on the curve, as you go around the curve, on the right-hand side, he said it was like a brewery. So So if I mention, I'm sure the police are aware of that, but obviously that area is well used.
This is Rankin and New going
That is correct.
towards South Avenue on the right-hand side.
You got the invitations. Yes. you got it. Yes, it was a lot out there. Tagging on to what the council president said, the clerk and I walked the athletic field site after the meeting, or after the Clean Communities Day, and we selected sites for the trees of the borough that came through the greening of Union County. These trees should be planted in November or December of this year. Councilwoman Tedisco and I attended last night's Raritan Valley Line meeting.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome. I arrived late, so I'll let the councilwoman give the full report. I was able, however, to speak to New Jersey Transit Rep. Paul Wyckoff about the fact that Garwood supports the one-seat ride once it's established. If they continue to simply make the connection without adding Garwood stops, it really does not do us any good. So it was the first time that I saw him, he actually stopped and took out his smartphone and took down some notes. So I don't think he was actually aware of that. I had to explain it to him a couple of times, so hopefully that'll mean something. And I was also able to plead our case on TV cable 35 if anybody looks at the video. I have taken note of the notices that were in the council packet from Cranford and Westfield regarding proposed land use ordinance, and the city clerk, or the borough clerk, has provided me with copies of what Cranford and then Westfield are proposing. I'll go through them and advise council if there's any concerns. Westfield's notices of concern to me, and Don, I'll mention it to you too, because they're looking at their housing element and fair share plan again. And that, if you recall, was a specific reason why they proposed the project down here in Myrtle, because that is an affordable housing inclusive project where the municipality allows them to build additional density in order to have affordable units. So I'll see if anything affects that. That's it, Mayor, except last week I closed with hopefully a funny comment. Hopefully I have another one here. There was an article in the paper today about a masked robber fleeing the bank after a bank robbery on bicycle toward Lakewood. I just wanted to let you know that was not me. He fled on a bike and they haven't found him yet, but it wasn't me. That's it for my report.
Thank you. Now,
I don't have any report, Mayor, but yes, I am happy to see that we're finally going to get everything at the Garwood Sports and Recreation Complex. Long time coming.
thank you for your determined efforts to get the problem solved. Councilwoman Tedisco.
Thank you, Mayor. I also agree with the name change. I think that, I even said back when we voted on it 2 years ago, that the name Athletic Field Complex was really not fitting for the project, since it really is a place for all residents to enjoy. Athletic field sort of just applies children only. Okay, a couple reports tonight. As Councilman Yerstedt mentioned, I attended the Raritan Valley Rail Coalition meeting last night in Cranford. Clearly, Councilman Yerstedt was there and even got some TV time, so that's good. And many were in attendance that night. I saw a few familiar faces of Garwood residents in the audience, along with many residents of other towns, along the Raritan Valley rail line. In addition, there were many elected officials, from council people to mayors to freeholders to Assemblywoman Stender and Senator Kane there that evening. Before the meeting opened up to a Q&A, a few presentations were made. First, Paul Wyckoff from New Jersey Transit spoke about the recent application for federal transportation dollars, which is being finalized now, and then that application will be sent off to the NJTPA, or North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority. This will enable direct service to New York City for 4 trains to run in and out of New York City between the hours of 8 p.m. and midnight starting in January. This comes as good news after we recently learned that this phase, originally planned to start in November, was stopped. Important to note, Paul Wyckoff said if the grant money does not come in from the federal government in time, New Jersey Transit will make budget adjustments in order to stay on target to start the evening off-peak one-seat rides in January. Tom Jardim, a member of the coalition, spoke next about some other improvements made over the years from the good relationship between the coalition and New Jersey Transit. He mentioned same platform transfer, Raritan Valley line platforms being the first to have ticket machines, and better communication. He also spoke of the growing ridership along our line and that the coalition is still pushing to reach the ultimate goal of 1 to 3 trains running direct during peak hours. The coalition asked for help from residents, both commuters and non-commuters alike. One-seat rides would not only benefit commuters, but also have a direct impact on property values. Look at the property values in places with direct service, and you can see how if you build it, they will come. And I am taking that quote from what they said last night. And I personally work in Chatham, and I see what direct service does for a community. With that said, I would also like to encourage our residents to let their voices be heard to our legislators in the state and to New Jersey Transit. Here in Garwood, we especially need to make our voices heard so New Jersey Transit doesn't forget about Garwood when they add direct service, as Councilman Neerstedt was saying. You can also use the coalition's website to contact New Jersey Transit or your legislators. The website is raritanvalleyrail.com. This is also why we need to come up with a real solution to the parking issue in town and look for spots in future redevelopment as well to ensure we have places for commuters to park away from our residential streets. And I'm happy that the parking committee was set up and is now working hard to come up with that solution. And there are some materials over by the camera, actually, over there on that table from last night if anyone's interested in picking that up. Again, check it out. It's raritanvalleyrail.com. My second report this evening is that tonight we have resolution 14-272 on the consent agenda, which requests the Union County Board of Chosen Freeholders undertake a study on a possible merge of their sheriff and police departments. I spoke about this in more detail at our last council meeting, and this issue has been raised at meetings prior to that one as well. As it is written now, it states most other counties do not have separate departments as we do here in Union County. In doing my research, calling the other 20 counties around the state, I found not many even have a county police department. However, some do have more state police coverage, and that's something to consider as to why they may not have that county police. I support this resolution because it's important to investigate this idea as a potential cost savings to all the residents of Union County without loss of safety and security to residents. Also, if passed, it will be sent to the other 20 municipalities in Union County to consider adopting as well. That's all I have.
Thank you. I just want to remind everybody that if you have any questions with anything on the consent agenda or in any other area of tonight's regular meeting, if you can get that out at this point in time, so we can save time when the actual meeting time. So, anyone have anything else they want to mention, bring up, question, etc.? We appreciate it. Okay, there being no other questions, and hopefully this evening's meeting, so. Slip here. We'll move on to the public comment portion of our meeting this evening, and if there's anyone in the audience that wishes to address the mayor and council, please step to the microphone, sign in, and state your full name and address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. It would certainly be greatly appreciated.
You're warm out.
Good evening. Scott Kessler. You may know me as a resident of Garwood since 1998. I'm proud to be a full-time volunteer of our town since my family and I moved here. Garwood Baseball, Recreation Committee, PTA events, DARE program, senior dinner, trick or trunk, and many more. I'm certainly not here to talk about politics tonight, just about some comments about volunteering. As you know, we heard today we have an amazing complex right around the corner, and I heard it's been said that how should we do this for volunteers to run? Well, volunteers have been taking care of this field since 1954, long before I and many of you have been here, with no financial contribution whatsoever from the taxpayers of Garwood. They basically have been maintaining the field, building kitchens since it was built. So the question begs to be asked, how can we leave the volunteers to run this? The answer is very simple, because they've been doing a great job for 60 years. Another point of the league, all volunteers have saved over $925,000, which we brought to you in 2012, I believe, of recurring maintenance and improvements to the facility. That would have been money the town would have paid, but we took care of it, my predecessors included. Cutting the grass, electrical issues, heating issues, plumbing issues, so on and so forth, renovations, with no, again, taxpayer dollars. For recreation, the commission does have a budget, but what is not budgeted for example, the donated time and money the volunteers have done. We donated over $500 this year, which included for the food, bingo games, prizes, yes, bingo games. We cook, serve, play bingo, and give prizes. So I always ask you if everyone attended that, you'll see it's one of my favorite days of the year. For baseball in the facility, the kids are just absolutely amazing. For the past 2 seasons, as you know, we had no field of our own to play on. But we partnered with other towns, we had a great time, we made a lot of friends doing so. During that same 2-year period, recreation of the players increased by 10%, which included kids from other towns wanting to come to our league, run by our volunteers. Our executive commission of baseball has not raised the cost of registrations for 5 full years, with including having more players coming to this event. The decision not to raise registration fees makes Garwood the lowest in the county of registration. As I mentioned, the executive commission is run by volunteers. Many of you are volunteers yourselves and experience the gratification that I personally have. Those who have not, cannot, or won't volunteer, that's totally up to you, and I make no judgment whatsoever. But don't criticize those who do. Support them, stand with them, be happy to have such dedicated folks who, not for us, things will be left out. I'll leave you one quick note. Volunteering is the ultimate exercise in democracy. You vote in elections once a year. When you volunteer, you vote every day about the kind of community you want to live in. Thank you.
Mr. Kessler?
Scott, can you email me what you just read tomorrow?
Really?
For my minutes? Yes, for my
I
minutes.
may have it up. I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good evening, everyone. Richard King, 412 Hazel Avenue. Just to touch on a few more comments from Mr. Kessler about volunteers in Garwood. Fire department, all volunteer. Built a new building for them. I believe volunteers also took care of that building. First aid squad, just had an addition put on it. I believe that was all volunteer work. Again, if you can't trust the volunteers to take care of their own properties, you can't trust anyone. And once again, Scott, very good, very well said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Joe Garwood, 25 2nd Avenue, Garwood, New Jersey. I'll just bring up a few concerns that I have. Number one is being on 2nd Avenue, speeding. Cars in the morning, especially. I'll go to the gym around 7:30. Cars coming west on 2nd Avenue from Holly Street fly so fast, many times I must get hit backing out of my driveway. And then cars will actually go and pass me in the oncoming opposing lane. They'll go around me, trying to race me down the road. It's ridiculous, so I don't know what we can do about this. Second issue, which I know a number of people are aware of, is commuter parking. A lot of people take the bus, the train. They park on 2nd Avenue. What it does in our area, because we're right by Anchor and Winslow, and multiple 2-family homes there. A lot of the 2-family homes have people, when they come home, they can't park. They park down by us. We have our company parks 3 and 4 doors away. You know, I mean, I think that I know they have on Anchor and Winslow 2-hour parking during the week, stuff I permit, and I think we need to impose that on 2nd Avenue and also possibly on 3rd Avenue. One other thing for tonight, I don't have to be brief. We try to keep up the neighborhood, keep up the house. I have a neighbor a few doors down that she was warned that she better cut her grass, was getting too high. She's around my age, has back issues, and if her grass was too high, I would have been there to cut it. My concern is there's a multiple family house, and the reason why I'll say multiple family, it's a 2-family house, 115 Anchor. It is an illegal 3-family, but that's not my concern. The person who owns it owns multiple homes in various towns, and I'm going to pass these pictures around. You can all look at and keep. The garage there that's associated with this house is deplorable. It looks, I don't even know what words I can use, but I'm being kicked out of here. So that's all I have to say, and I'll pass this around, and I appreciate you can do something. Thank you.
Mayor, I'll take that on. Talk to Lenny and,
Lenny about the garage, yeah.
Mayor, can I just address the parking issue?
Yes.
I'm sorry, what was your last name, Mr. Gold?
Gola, G-O-L-A.
On the parking issue that you mentioned?
Yes.
We are aware of it, the police did a parking study and it did include your street, so we're well aware of the commuter parking. And the parking committee that was set up will be handling that issue.
Okay, matter of fact, last week, I was gonna bring this up, but while I'm here, I will. I was outside blowing the leaves, I'm retired, so I have time, you know? I was outside blowing the leaves, to clean up for Tuesdays, for Wednesday's pickup. And there's a person that, parks on our street all the time, that works on a business on North Avenue. This individual was coming down so fast, not paying attention, she almost hit me as I was cleaning the leaves. And I just kept on blowing, and she gets out of her vehicle, and she starts yelling and screaming, "You're gonna get me dirty, you're going to get me dirty, stop it." And I said, "You almost hit me." She said, "I'm gonna call the police on you." I said, "Fine, go ahead and do it."
That's about the speeding.
Speeding, yeah.
Our police are right behind you, they're listening to that, so.
I was going to say, the chief, have we ever gotten the?
She called them.
And she came to park. Oh, she did call it?
They're right here for you.
You're weak like, sorry guys. It's getting crazy.
But I just want to let you know that we are addressing the parking issue that you're
Great.
talking about, the commuter parking.
Very good,
Okay,
thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And, Chief, you'll maybe pay a little extra attention to checking the speeding issue down the end there.
Yes, Mayor, we'll get the sign out there and we'll get some enforcement out there. It is a tough time because our presence is required in the school zones at that time.
Yeah, this is,
So, right, it's a critical time right then, but
No, I know, I realize that, thank you. Okay, any other,
Yes.
comments?
It just seems that, first of all, congratulations on this Deus Ex Machina, that suddenly the athletic field is not only completed, there's a ribbon
Can you,
cutting
just for the
ceremony.
benefit of, Ms. Ariana, can we have your full name and address? That would be helpful.
Paulette Matthew, do you want me to write it down?
Yeah,
Sure.
that'd be great.
Paulette
Thank
Matthew, 24 Pine Avenue. 324?
She's nervous.
We have a ribbon cutting ceremony, and it's just coincidental that it's a week before election. Also, after the mayoral debates and the council members' debates at the point when Mr. Connolly referred to it as the embarrassment, that suddenly we have people here speaking about volunteerism, prepared with a speech. Sounds like a lot of damage control, as well as changing the name. Since I've been coming here, it's been the athletic field. It has left such a bad taste in so many people's mouths that suddenly we're changing the names. Sounds like damage control, circling the wagons. I commend you for your efforts because looks like a lot of effort went into this. Thank you.
Thanks, Mom.
I would like to mention that, just for the benefit of those who are here, the name issue is something that has been out there since the complex got started. We started calling it the Athletic Field Complex. It's had many names, as it's morphed in many different directions over the years. So, just so everyone knows, also as well, if there were any concerns with regard to the individual, such as Garwood Field, that will continue to be along those veins. The name that Council President Tarantino mentioned is the entire complex in its wholeness. It'll still bear the original names of the things that were dedicated to the individual people over the years, so.
And it's been on our documents for months.
It's been like that for us, yeah.
On our draft ordinances for months, not all of a sudden, but.
Tom Pettis, 101 Chestnut Court. My comments are to the parking committee. I know you checked with St. Anne's and you didn't get positive results. Someone from the committee might want to check with the Greek Orthodox Church in Westville they have an arrangement with Union County College where Union County College uses the church parking lot Monday through Friday and fills it up because the church hardly uses any spaces, and vice versa. The church will use Union County College parking lot for the Greek Festival each year. So someone might want to check and see what kind of arrangement, and maybe convince St. Anne's that this would be a beneficial thing for them, and that you would use it Monday through Friday when the church was.
I did have a very lengthy conversation with Father Villanova from St. Anne's, and one of the reasons that he's unwilling to give us, let us have some space there is because of, when they have funerals during the week, he wants his parking lot for funerals. I tried to really, we had a good conversation, he's just unwilling.
Okay.
He does, as a matter of fact, lease out some spots to local businesses, but he's unwilling to lease spots to the borough.
Okay. Maybe if the Greek Church gave you some ideas as to what arrangement they did, it might help.
Okay. Thank you. I'll try again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
30 seconds left.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Scott Kessler again. I just want to refute that there's no damage control of my agenda. I specifically, if you told me, I have nothing interested in politics whatsoever. I just want people to downgrade the volunteer work that myself and many other people do. It's just absurd. And I hope this doesn't come in some form and some hidden people's, names and bashing people for do what they do best. I'm not working. I have a lot of losses in my life, not donating to the kids in every facet I possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from any other members of the public before we close the public comment portion of the meeting? Yeah.
Salvatore Piroli, 55 Fourth Avenue. I don't think anybody was bashing Mr. Kessler for the fine work and volunteerism.
Thank you.
But to walk out and say stupid to a woman who came up here and spoke on her behalf and her thoughts, I think it's deplorable. And I know you're better than that. You do a lot of work.
Excuse me, I wasn't saying to that person. Just
Great job
to
finishing the field. I commend you guys. Thank you.
Is there anyone else before Mr. King speaks? Is there anyone else who hasn't at this point? Mr. Patterson, are you going to get up and say?
Can't leave Bruce out.
Because I really, we're here at the public comment.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Bruce Patterson, 325 Willow. Just a couple issues. Well, first, thanks to Sarah, Councilwoman Sarah Disco and her committee for putting it's a resolution, right? Resolution
Yes.
on the agenda for the merging of the sheriff. I mean, the county needs to be reined in. I mean, this is a small part of trying. I appreciate it. All the communities, there's 21 of them in the county, and they really should make some kind of effort to rein in the county, because the county is just like a Wild West in expenditures. The budget, I'm sure everybody knows, it's over $500 million, and you just wonder, well, $500 million every year, and the higher, obviously, exactly what it's for. I mean, we're seeing some nice tokens of appreciation. We send them millions, and they give us $24,400.
That's fair.
But I mean, and I've been coming in front of the council 10 years plus, and I've been talking about the county, and thank you very much for at least making this step, and hopefully going forward, other towns should be coming together and forming some kind of coalition to just tell the county to listen to us first of all, and to just stop the expenditures that they're doing. So, thank you very much on that. Speaking of this $20,000 check, this is the Open Space Trust Fund, and it's another issue that I like. And there's nothing wrong with the Open Space Trust Fund. But when they come to saying you gotta match the money, because that Open Space Trust Fund is already our money. So they take our money, they say we're gonna give it back to you, and you have to actually tax more. At this point, you're saying, oh, we're gonna be able to take it out of, not operational costs, but out of bonding costs. And maybe you don't recognize that, but the bonding costs is basically paid by operating costs. The bond principal and interest is being paid out of the operating fund, operating budget of the town. So in essence, the $20,000 that you're saying are gonna come out of this non-expenditure, since we're under budget, it's actually gonna be $25,000. So to tell you the truth, it really should be coming out of the operating budget as a one-time shot at 20 grand. So, not, because we'd be paying interest on the $20,000.
But the depreciation doesn't make sense.
You mean the dollar depreciation, you're talking the economic thing?
Long term.
Well, I mean, that's providing our economy is getting worse, but, you know, I'm not here to argue about the big picture, although
I'll argue with you about it later.
yeah, the rec complex, yeah, a long time coming. I mean, you know, I've been here way back since Mayor Criccoli, rest in peace, you know, was talking about the building and it obviously involved. And I was flip-flopping throughout the years, you know, saying like, to get rid of the walking pass at least as a savings, or even a bocce ball court. Do we have a bocce ball court?
Yes, we do.
We do have a bocce ball, okay, but anyway. But I mean, yeah, the cost grew, I mean, a lot. And the time it took to finish this, of course, went over budget. I do understand being in construction, and I talked to Lou about that. You know, being in construction, I mean, it's tough trying to maintain a schedule when there's a lot of issues that do come up, and I do understand what happened, and maybe Lou and I are the only ones that really understand. It's all right for the public to criticize, we're not aware of exactly the nuances of construction, but like Ann said, you take the criticism and you get the kudos, so thank you very much for at least bringing this to a close. I guess that's it, but I mean, believe me, the $20,000 in the big picture economy, it really shouldn't. Somehow, are we gonna hear how much under we are sooner or later?
After we pay everything off.
And
Once it wraps up.
a rough idea of when that would be? A year from now?
Probably the end of November, when I have more of a handle on the changes that need to be made.
Oh, really? So maybe January?
Probably before that.
A reconciliation, okay, I mean, January, if I said, I'd like to see a reconciliation of some kind of cost. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Over here.
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing. I mean, I'll be more happy on December 15th after this is over with, because then it'll actually be a forgotten reality. I mean, for me. So, I mean, to say, and for people to say that this is happening at this opportune moment, I ask this guy every single week for a schedule. I've been asking him for a schedule ever since we blew by the second done date, which was July of this year. He just happened to come in today. Things are moving really fast. We asked again, when do you think you'll be finished? He said, I think I'll be finished by the end of November. So we said, can we have a ribbon cutting? So we decided to have it on the 14th, which gave him an extra 2 weeks, just in case he's not done by the end of November. Okay, so that's how this all came about. It was a conversation that happened today, right here in this room, at another one of our monthly construction meetings.
Thank you, Councilman. Since there's nobody else, I'll
me, I'm left.
take a shot at this.
Richard King again, 412 Hazel Avenue. Just to touch on a couple of points Mr. Kessler might have missed. We have no political agenda at the Garwood Baseball League. Our agenda is about the kids of the town, always has been. I'd like to remind everybody up on council that the original complex was built by all volunteers, maintained by volunteers for the past 60 years. Okay? I was fortunate enough, my father was a volunteer fireman for 54 years in town. That's what I do in town. This is what I like to give back to the people in town. For those of you who might be new to town, just to give you, that's how this was built. This is where it's going. This is where I think it should stay with volunteers. I think we do a great job up there, and I don't think we could be replaced. If you had a paid fire department, paid first aid squad, where are our taxes going to go? They're just going to go up. Was for the volunteers in towns, your taxes would be a lot higher than they are today.
Thank you, Mr. King. I don't see anybody else who's running up to the microphone, so we'll close the public comment portion of the meeting and adjourn our workshop. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. 5 past 8, we'll be back, that's about 7 minutes.